cool. Come on, give it up to these folks today. And now Damon and Greater Works, thank you for starting your weekend off like that. Do you have another one or should I get out of your way? Keep on going. Okay. I'm going to have to recover a little bit, make sure my ticker's doing okay. Welcome, everybody. I am Monique McLaughlin, your Grand Rat for today, and also the Cairo 7 News anchor. I am so happy to be here. It is nice to see all of you, to hear all of you, to be reminded in our hearts and in our heads, both, why we are here today, this weekend, what we will be looking forward to on Monday as well. It's so nice to see so many of you, so many familiar faces from the last few years during the annual celebration of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so many of you, I just know from your great work in the community, so thank you. Now, we are here for the 50th annual community celebration. How about that? What a run, and we're still going. The arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. 50-year mark is a pretty good time to settle in those words from Dr. King again. Now, at our most optimistic times, we may think we're actually approaching, that final bend, and then something reminds us, no, we're actually on this curve, right? But in this space, we can be reinvigorated. We can know that as a community, we can make that uphill progress. And together, collectively, we can create that weight that makes that curve bend, like a rainbow reaching down to the pot of gold. I am so grateful to be with you here. Thank you so much. And I'm shouting into your ears, aren't I? Okay. All right, some housekeeping before we keep on going. This is being live streamed by SCC TV. There will be a replay available on their website, scctv.net. Emergency exits left, right, and back. Bathrooms down the hallway, gender neutral bathrooms are just past the bookstore. We all have to get oriented, don't we? Because we're used to meeting at Mount Zion. And we really miss being there. It's a relationship that's been a hallmark of this day. But COVID, of course, has made us all adjust. They're still doing limited in-person gathering there. But our ties remain very strong. With us today, we have the Mount Zion Baptist Church interim pastor, the Reverend Dr. Patricia L. Hunter, right over here. She will be providing a blessing and say a few words, and she will be followed by DeAndre Fisher, Associate Vice Chancellor, who will give the land acknowledgement. But I've been boring you. We need to get your energy back up, don't we? So here we go. Greater Works.
Mount Zion is honored to be associated with this celebration and recognize the award that is given in the name of Dr. Samuel Barry McKinney, the late pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church. He was a standard bearer for social justice and a civil rights leader in Seattle. He was also my father in the ministry and took risk to support me and other women in ministry when it was unpopular to do so. And all of us stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. And so I acknowledge the ancestors who worked, who struggled, and who prayed for us so that we would have greater opportunities today. Yes, we have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. We are not in this struggle alone. We are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses who are cheerleaders for us as we do the hard work of justice making. So let us honor them today and each day as we speak truth in love and demand freedom and justice and jobs and affordable health care and quality education and clean water and affordable housing and the end of gun violence and just policing for all. So again, thank you for including Mount Zion in this year's celebration of life and work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Greetings, what an honor to be here. Greetings, community, to our virtual community too as well. I will be reading our land and labor acknowledgement. Let me get to it. I want to remind us that our land and labor acknowledgement is more than just a reading of words. It's also honoring, acknowledging the ways that our indigenous and First Nations people have taught us from the past, what they have taught us to the present, and what they have demanded of us right now in the future. With that being said, we're doing truth-telling and speak-telling as well. On behalf of the Seattle colleges, we acknowledge that we occupy the traditional ancestral lands of Coast Salish people, the traditional homes in all tribes and bandwidth within the Duwamish, Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. We also acknowledge that because of them, we honor their light and their ancient heritage. Without them, we wouldn't have access to today's gathering. We also ask that you take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land, air, and water, and of beloved Mother Earth. We also pause to recognize and acknowledge that enslaved peoples who were forced in unpaid labor to build this country, this state, and this city. To their descendants, we acknowledge their indelible mark on this space. It is our collective responsibility as the Seattle Colleges community to critically interrogate these histories, repair this harm. May these words manifest life, come to effect, call to action. Ashe, ashe, ashe.
DeAndre, thank you for that reminder of the lands and the people who are the original stewards of where we now gather today. And Reverend Hunter, thank you for your kind words and that connection to the past, which is part of the present and part of the future also. I know I speak for Seattle colleges when I say this relationship is so very special. This is just a different year, and we'll get right back to it next year. We would like to quickly recognize Seattle College's executive leadership and some of our special guests participating today. Hold your applause just to the end, if you would, please. The Seattle College's interim chancellor, Dr. Rosie Raimondo Cherensap, if you would raise your hand, or yourself, yes, just so people would see you. Board of Trustees Chair, Louise Chernin. Our speaker, Sharon Washington Risher. Thank you for being here. Dr. Bradley Lane, president of Seattle Central College. Dr. Jean Hernandez, interim president of South Seattle College. Dr. Shameen Crawford, president of North Seattle College. And hello again, Reverend Dr. Patricia L. Hunter. Thank you for being here. And a special welcome and thanks, of course, to Seattle College's faculty, staff, and students who sponsor and program this great event and cooked your breakfast today. How about that? Yeah. And thank you, of course, to South Seattle College for hosting this event today. Today, of course, is about education. It's about achievement. It's about inspiration. It's about collective work. And now Interim Chancellor Rosie Raimondo Cherinsap has a message for us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know that the wonderful breakfast maybe leaves you a little heavy for that greeting back, but I know that you're getting warmed up, and Greater Works will help you work those calories off throughout the morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you here to celebrate Seattle College's 50th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Community Celebration. As our friend Monique Minlavin shared, my name is Dr. Rosie Raimondo Cherinsap, and I currently serve as the interim chancellor here in the Seattle Colleges. Over my 22 years of serving in this district, mostly here at South Seattle College, I've attended many of these annual celebrations, and so it's a special honor for me to welcome you here to the college where I've spent the bulk of my career. Celebrating Dr. King's life and contributions also presents us, I believe, with a unique challenge each year. How do we continue the work and the intention that we build today beyond a single day? Working in community colleges, it's a form of higher education that was developed as a departure from the traditional higher education systems, which really favored the elite and frankly, white males in histories. One could argue that we indeed do this work simply by showing up in these jobs, but we also know that simply showing up is never enough. And from my 22 years in this district, I know very well that this is not where the work stops for the Seattle College's staff and faculty in particular. So today, we're going to take some time to recognize some of these efforts. We're proud of the work that we do in pursuit of racial and social justice and the innovations and collaborations that focus our energy and expand our knowledge and expertise in this area. While we know the work will continue well beyond our careers together, today is a chance to celebrate our work together thus far. And remember that we are indeed stronger, and we work better when we are doing that together to address injustice and inequalities. Dedicating a week to social justice, which we'll learn more about today and in the coming week, is one way that we seek to achieve this beyond today's celebration. And so many thanks to our newly assembled team of leaders from Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Community. This is a team that's been working to develop today's events, as well as the work that will occur over the next week for the Seattle Colleges community. And that expands on our traditional MLK observations each year. And many thanks as well to our district-wide communications team for their coordination and support of today as well. Thank you again to Monique Minlavin for coming back each year to join in our citywide and our community-wide celebration. You are a friend to the Seattle Colleges, and we are so grateful for that friendship year after year. I also want to recognize the many VIPs who have joined us today. We have many in the room, and so I don't want to miss anyone, but we have civic leaders, we have community leaders, and we have many other leaders that have joined us, and we are so grateful for your return or for your choice to join us and spend this Friday with us as well. And there are many other VIPs across the room that deserve recognition as well. VIPs are denoted by sitting in chairs that are the color blue, and so we want to thank all of you for joining us today. Yes, no, yes. Everybody, if you're not in a blue chair, it's rolling over the group right now. I'll give it a moment to land. And you're a VIP, and you're a VIP. Okay. On a serious note, please. Those who will be properly introduced later in the program, I want to thank Reverend Sharon Washington Risher for joining us today as our keynote later. It may come as a surprise to many, but you represent a piece of my own history as well. I was also born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina, and in a region steeped in its conflicted history. As an elementary school student, I remember each year taking a historical field trip to downtown Charleston. And I visited Mother Emanuel's several times on those field trips as a child. So you bring a piece of my home to me today by joining us, and so I personally thank you for that as well. And now I'd like to turn our attention to the McKinney Scholarship presentation. While we are here to celebrate the work of the Reverend Dr. King, I would like to acknowledge the leadership and vision of another special individual, the late Reverend Dr. Samuel B. McKinney. Reverend McKinney was a giant among leaders in the Northwest. He helped launch Seattle's first Black-owned bank after local banks restricted loans to African Americans. He served as an original member of the Seattle Human Rights Commission, which successfully advocated for the passage of Seattle's first Fair Housing Act. In the 1960s, he took part in civil rights demonstrations in Seattle, Alabama, and Washington, D.C., and he talked with his college classmate, Dr. Martin Luther King, into coming to Seattle in 1961, which is Dr. King's only visit to our city. Seattle colleges created a scholarship in Reverend McKinney's name. It's a small yet significant way we use higher education to pay homage to McKinney's deep faith and commitment to social justice and equality. So at this point, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce my colleague, our colleague, Michaela Harris, Director of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Community at Seattle Central College. She will share about this year's scholarship recipient. Please join me in welcoming Michaela to the podium.
Hey y'all, happy Friday. I'm here to talk a little bit about our scholarship recipient, Gabe. Gabriel Young, 30, is a non-traditional college student born and raised in Tacoma, Washington, attending Seattle Central College. His career aspirations are for outreach and education, or starting a nonprofit around traditional ecological knowledge and decolonizing the information surrounding native plants and medicine. Yeah. Gabriel's goal is to transfer to UW and study biology with an emphasis on plant physiology. As a student taking 20 credits and working full-time, unfortunately, Gabe could not be here, but he did send a note of appreciation, which I will read next. Greetings and salubrious salutations to you all. It was my hope to be able to make it in time to attend this event, but life and work have a funny way of disrupting our plans. So I'm writing this letter as a small gesture of my deepest gratitude to the Seattle Central and Mount Zion Baptist community members. Thank you so much for this, even considering me as a recipient of this award. As a non-traditional first-gen college student, it's a wonderful and unexpected gift to not only receive financial assistance, but to know there are real people out there who are in my corner, pushing for my success, even if they haven't met me. It can be very isolating to navigate the world of academia when the world perceives you as an already fully functioning adult. And although I may be built for struggle, I sometimes feel disenfranchised because I carry the full academic and financial weight alone. James and Desiree of the Umoja Scholars Program at Central have empowered me to continue putting one foot in front of the other, and I'm so grateful to have these lovely and empathetic humans as counsel. Thank you, and also to the unnamed folks who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make happy days like this a possibility for people like me. I wish you all the blessings, happiness, and vitality in the new year, and I look forward to paying the love forward one day when I have the means. Happy Friday the 13th. Thank you all so much. And yes, to paying it forward.
Thank you all so much for letting us just sit and bask in your talent and to feel it again in our hearts and our heads. And now to a voice we are so very lucky to hear, but frankly, we wish her story and her life weren't so poignant. But we have so much to learn from her strength and also her vision. The Reverend Sharon Washington Risher was catapulted into the limelight. That was after June 17th, 2015, the Charleston, South Carolina shooting at the Mother Emanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Her beloved mother, the church sexton, Mrs. Ethel Lee Lance, was killed, along with 8 others that included her 2 cousins and a childhood friend. Since then, Sharon has been very outspoken about the nation's gun laws. She is one of the national spokespersons for the grassroots advocacy groups Everytown and Moms Demand Gun Sense. She's appeared on CNN several times. She's been interviewed by Time Magazine, Marie Claire Magazine, Guardian, BBC Radio, the list goes on and on. She also visited President Barack Obama at the White House on several occasions. She has been a guest speaker for several Martin Luther King Jr. memorial events. The Charleston, South Carolina native graduated from Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina, and after a call to vocational ordained ministry in 2002, while attending church in North Carolina, she relocated to Austin, Texas, and there she received a Master of Divinity degree. Until shortly after her mother's heart-rending death, Reverend Risher has served Rice Chapel AME Church as associate pastor for congregational care, where she preached and led the women's ministries of the church. She's also worked as a staff chaplain and trauma specialist with Parkland Hospital of Dallas, Texas. This is a woman with a calling that she answers. Sharon's book, For Such a Time as This, Hope and Forgiveness After the Charleston Massacre, was published in June of 2019. That coincided with the 4-year anniversary of that tragic event. Please join me in welcoming the Reverend Sharon Washington Risher.
You don't know what it took for me to be in Seattle today. But here I am, because the assignment has been made and I have to follow through. But it is definitely my honor to be your keynote speaker today, as we gather to celebrate this community's 50th annual community celebration in remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today. And then there's a shout out to Mr. DeAndre. There's a shout out to Miss Rosie, my home girl. And a shout out to all of you. As we are gathered, any true celebration, the celebrators must reflect on what has happened in the last 50 years and what has changed since you began to have this event. Today, as a whole community, we celebrate the most prophetic and famous civil rights leader we have ever had. We are here today because we believe in Dr. King's dream of a beloved community, a community where all would live out their true purposes and to have the means to provide for theirs and for them to thrive in a world that has so much. King recognized the poor and the marginalized people of all communities and pointed out how we are all globally connected as people. We are here because we continue to believe in King's dreams. You see, dreams don't have an expiration date. Dreams have no boundaries. So today, we are all Martin Luther Kings. We are appointed to make possible King's dream in this world today. Actually living out the Bill of Rights that all men are created equal and should be able to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you happen to be a person of faith and a believer in Christ, we know our jobs are to make sure equality is inclusive of all. And the gospel, the good news we spread is of kindness, love, and brotherhood. For everything that I've experienced in my life, I'm a proud daughter of the American South, a true Geechee girl from the low country of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a product of the civil rights era. My Southern Black heritage has shaped me into the woman of faith that I am today. But like many African Americans from the South, I am no stranger to the hate and intolerance that has unfortunately defined a large part of our history. Losing my beloved mother and cousins in Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina on June 17, 2015. They were praying in a church. Their death has changed my life forever. That hot summer night, a white supremacist with hate in his heart and a deadly gun gunned down 9 people who were closing out a Bible study as they do every Wednesday night. I was not in Charleston at that time. I lived in Dallas, Texas, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing of what happened that night, but the important thing is to remember their deaths will never be in vain. Their lives will be remembered as long as I have breath in my body. I will continue to talk and tell the story of those people in that church on that night. We remember Dr. King year after year because we still yet have an opportunity to get something right. We still get to put our faith and feet in action to help make this world better because we are in this world. I want to share with you why I became such a follower of and believer in Dr. King's work. In 1967, my mother was working a part-time job. She called me that night and said, "Put on your Sunday clothes," because she wanted me to see someone very important. You see, Dr. Martin Luther King was speaking at the county hall. Back then, the hall was the only place in Charleston where most black people could meet and gather in large numbers. I did what my mother told me, and I walked to where she was. She settled me in the back of the hall out of the way. I couldn't see what was going on, but I could hear Dr. King's voice. In my 9-year-old mind, he sounded like God to me. Because you see, the people in the hall were shouting and clapping at everything he said. I couldn't even remember the words that he said, but I knew I was listening to somebody that everybody in that room respected and loved. That night, the seed was planted in me to be a servant of the people. In my young mind, I knew then that I wanted to be able to speak like him, that I would stand up in front of a crowd of people and they would want to hear what I had to say. I dreamed about being a lawyer and then I would get involved in politics. I believed and dreamed that I would be the first black lady mayor of Charleston, South Carolina. Well, that dream I had for myself didn't pan out the way I dreamed it, but here I am today, involved in a ministry of politics, speaking to the multitudes, still trying to make Dr. King's dream come true. For me, one of the most impactful speeches I have read from Dr. King's many, many writings occurred in December of 1958, the year I was born. You see, he received a letter from then Morehouse President Dr. Benjamin Mays inviting him to address the graduating class of 1959. In his address, King urges the graduates of his alma mater to rise above the limits of individualistic concerns. He tells them of the story written by Washington Irving entitled Rip Van Winkle. Everybody know that story? Well, the thing that we usually remember about this story is that Rip Van Winkle slept for 20 years. But there's another point in that story that's always completely overlooked. It was a sign on the inn in the little town on the Hudson from which Rip went up into the mountains for his long sleep. When he went up, the sign had a picture of King George III of England. When he came down years later, the sign had a picture of George Washington, the first president of the United States. When Rip looked up at the picture of George Washington, he was completely lost. He knew not who he was. This, I believe, reveals to us that the most striking fact about that story of Rip Van Winkle is not that he slept for 20 years, but that he slept through a revolution. While he was peacefully snoring up on that mountain, a great revolution was taking place in the world. Indeed, a revolution which would at points change the course of our history. Rip Van Winkle knew nothing about it. He was asleep. In 1975, a popular R&B singing group, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, with lead singer Teddy Pendergrass, sang this song, "Wake Up Everybody." Please bear with me while I read the lyrics of this song, because I believe that the songs of 1975 could be sang and felt just like it is in 2013. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking. Time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There is so much hatred, war, and poverty. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We got to change it. Just you and me. That song, I believe, continues to capture the essence of what is going on in our country today. We are called, every one of us in this room, to make this world a better place, and I know that each and every one of us are doing that in our own way. Not everybody is called to be a professor. Not everybody is called to be a speaker or a preacher or whatever, but we all are called to live out this humanity that God has allowed us to have on this earth. You see, we find ourselves living in a time where this country is divided more than it's ever been. People are living in fear and speaking out of their own pain and confusion. The coronavirus has killed more people than we can ever imagine. Gas prices are high. Gun violence is a public crisis. January 6, 2020, the world witnessed the insurrection at the nation's capital, where our elected officials plus the sitting vice president had to run for their lives. King most famously said, "Nonviolence means avoiding not only external physical violence, but also internal violence of spirit." You not only refuse to shoot a man, but you refuse to hate him. Gun violence is ravishing our communities. Regular Joe, Jane can't afford to buy a house or afford health care. I can go on and on about what's happening in our country today, but it's destroying our humanity towards one another. There can be no more sleeping, because the social justice challenges we face will not just fade in the wind. Because America refused to face the issues of social justice, America missed what was boiling underneath the surface when COVID exposed the wide discrepancies in which services were provided to Black and brown people. Thousands of people died because of lack, and it didn't have to be that way. As a world, we're supposedly on the downside of controlling COVID, but we are looking to live in this post-COVID world, trying to return to normal, and the bottom line is there is no normal. Black people are wondering who will protect our rights of the Constitution that we had to fight hard and be killed in order to have. Who will ensure that all people have the same privileges and rights as the next person? No matter your political affiliations, people are feeling the fear or anger of things happening in our country that we don't understand. We are led to believe that this is the way this country should be led and that we could take it or leave it. I believe the problems and issues that's plaguing us as a country is because we've been asleep while others been plotting and scheming on tearing down what we as a nation has built up. Race relations have been torn down with groups I'm going to say it, like the Proud Boys and spewing anti-racism behaviors that was condoned by a president we all know. In thinking of the challenges we all face today, this revolution is being televised. I'm going to go way back because, you know, poet Gil Scott-Heron said back in 1971, the revolution will not be televised, but in 2023, every day you can see the revolution on Facebook or YouTube. Racism have been with us from the beginning of this country, and it's raising its head more than ever today. In 1921, victims of hate crime incidents, the breakdown is like this. Because of race and ethnicity, 64.8% were hate crimes for that reason. Religion, the statistics show that 13.3% of those were against people of a religious affiliation. Gender identity, people killed, 3.6%. Sexual orientation, 15.6%. This lets us know that we have a lot of work to do. It was recorded that it was more than 8,053 victims and 188 incidences across this country because of a bias. And most of these crimes were committed with a gun. My concern about gun violence is what led me in being a gun violence prevention activist. What happened in that church on that hot June night made me know that I was not able to be quiet, that I had to raise my voice in order that those 9 black people and those 5 survivors in that church would know that somebody cared about them more than just in Charleston, but somebody was going to spread the news about them and why gun violence prevention is so important. Because of that, I've learned so much of being a gun violence prevention activist through Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense and through Everytown Survivor Network. I believe, y'all, it's time to put our money and time in making this country for all people to have the opportunity to have the American dream. But at times it feels like that dream is only for certain people. For all of you college students that might be here today, you are pursuing an education that will help you become a productive citizen with dreams and aspirations that we need to help them come to pass. It's our job to make sure that all of these young people have an opportunity to be who they want to be. We, all of us, we have one of the most powerful tools already in your bag, the power to vote. Maybe some of you will find yourselves, and I'm talking to the college student, as public servants. You will be the leaders and lawmakers, which is a calling and which comes with great responsibility for your communities. In conclusion, Dr. King said, nothing, y'all hear me, nothing will be done until people of goodwill put their bodies and their souls in motion. And it will be that kind of soul force brought into being as a result of this confrontation that I believe will make a difference. This journey has taken me to places I never dreamed I would be. Meeting presidents, being on the news, talking to people like you who are willing to hear what I have to say. There comes a time in all our lives where we will face some challenging experiences. How we decide to accept and press forward defines who we are. I didn't ask for this journey I'm on. I'd rather not be standing up here with you sharing the pain that I've been through, but here I am. People, we are being prepared to make a way in this world. Once you leave the safe haven of this place, the world is out there to see what you're made of. What will you do for humanity? For us old heads, we have to keep being leaders and mentors, directing the new generation to an understanding of the civic responsibilities and using all our resources to make this world a better place. Thank you. May God bless each and every one of you, and thank you so much for being here today. Glory.
Everybody enjoying themselves? My name is Danelle Damon, and this is the Greater Works Choir. Can you give them a hand? I am proud to say that we have been a part of this event for 18 years. And I hope to see you all next year. We would like to say thank you for having us. We understand that, like was spoken earlier, that we're normally used to being at Mount Zion, having a good time. But do you realize I brought my good time with me on the Thank you for everyone that participated and made this event a success. And we will see you again next year. But of course, we would like to end with the song that was still years ago. And you all know Dr. Samuel McKinney. Oh, we're not ready.
Right, that's it. That's it.
Please forgive me. Oh, we got one more thing.
You could have went longer. What's that?
That's not where you are going. You right. We'll be right back.
Well, thank you. Always reminds me of growing up in the South with my family too as well to be here. But at this moment and at this time, the EDIC team, y'all come on up. We're gonna get through this special part of this moment that we get a chance to really think about the joy of bringing our community together to talk about how do we live out Dr. King's dream and vision of advancing social justice, and what does that look like and how does it play out. It's truly an honor to be here to do some recognitions, but I must say this could not be possible without the help and out the support and guidance of our communications department. Thank you, Ernest. Thank you, Barb, Andrew, Paulette, and we go on and on and on for the extreme work. I'll say as we get ready to honor our community, what I'll say a few words and we think about what this means in this part is it's our first annual way of honoring our community. What came up for me as I was thinking, I was like, what does this mean to the community? What it means is, as we honor and list out a few names, these folks, their departments, their services, what they have done, they are the barrier removals for our students. They are the motivation for our students that pushes them when they don't know what to do next. They give our students the hope when the hope is dried up. They help them and remind them that they will walk across that stage, and what does that mean? So today we do take a moment to work together in our partnership with the Office of Strategic Planning, and Communications and Strategic Initiatives. We wanted to do something very different and way to bring in the joy of the community, and that is to recognize just a few. It's not going to be as many communities that we would like, but look forward to next year too as well. So at this year's moment, we have the 2023 honorees for this year's Seattle College's Distinguished Medal of Social Justice. What this medal recognizes is the honor. We are honored for these communities for their outstanding programming and services and dedication to advancing social, racial, and economic justice for our dynamic community. So we do pause to take joy. I will ask that my colleague and friend Dennis come on up and help with this. On the side, I do want to say to the EDIC team, thank you, because we could not be here, and it's been a whirlwind to be here, but we are here, and with the support of our community, we stand strong as a department. So to this community, the EDIC team says thank you for your support. With that being said, Dennis, let's go ahead and read off our 2023 honorees. Come on.
Good morning, Seattle Colleges. Awesome. Give me some more energy. Good morning, Seattle Colleges. Awesome. We have lined up. The folks are so organized. They're organized this year. This is going to be great. We have our awardees coming up. We're going to ask if you can be nice to try to hold your applause, but I already know who I'm talking to. We'll see how long y'all follow those rules. If I believe everybody is lined up and ready, we're going in alphabetical order. So if the program starts with an A, hopefully you're at the front of the line over there. With that being said, our first awardee medal goes to the Academy of Rising Educators. Next, we have Anapeasy Programs. This is our AA, Native American, and Pacific Islander students serving institutions. We have Anapeasy Program at all 3 colleges. Next up, we have our Disability Accessibility Services. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next up, we have international programs. We have international programs at all 3 colleges. International programs. Next up, we have LSAM, which stands for the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation at North Seattle College. Go LSAM. Next up, more than a scholarship, but a promise, Seattle Promise. Followed by the Social Justice District Book Read Committee. The book coming your way, Disability Visibility, the Book Read Committee is representing. Next up, as they organize themselves on the stage, next up, we have the South Seattle Student Life Food Pantry. Come on up, student leaders who run the student-run, student-operated food pantry here at the South Seattle College campus. Additionally, we have South's Wellness Center. Been getting us well and healthy and being a gathering place for many at South this fall. Next up, we have Student Leadership and Multicultural Programs from North Seattle College. Next, we have Student Support Programs out of Seattle Central College. Go Student Support. Followed by any of our Title III programs, Strengthening Institutions programs, Title III, Guided Pathways, all the things. Come on down. Y'all looking good. Y'all looking good. Come. followed by, oh, it's gonna be a good time. It's the Trio family. First up, Trio EOC, Early Educational Opportunity Center. Next, Trio STEM at Central, Trio Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. Followed by Trio Student Support Programs, Student Success Programs at all 3 colleges. Ooh, the stage getting hot. Followed by Trio Talent Search. Followed by Trio Upward Bound 1 and Upward Bound 2. It's so upward bound, we got 2 programs, okay? We going up. Followed by Workforce Education Programs, all 3 colleges. I swear, we have awards for everybody. We have awards for everybody. We have awards for everybody. Oh, this stage is looking great. I hope the cameraman's getting ready. Last, but certainly not least, the one, the only, the folks that bring us together in unity in Kiswahili, Umoja Scholars. Come on down, get the award. I got good lungs. I think we're ready to, is that everybody on the list? I think that's everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause for all of our honorees. Standing round of applause, standing round of applause, standing round of applause. Yes.
And as we honor, we are creating, thanking Andrew and the team, we're creating a website that will have all of their information, how to get connected with their programs, and we will create our website to make sure we honor and recognize. And I thank these honorees for this, our first year doing this, but this is just a small token of the work that you do, seen and unseen. Congratulations, honorees. Thank you so much.
Awesome. If you can come down both sides, you can you can come down both sides of the stage. We'll help you down. Thank you so much. Give it up for your honorees one more time.
Thank you, Dennis.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Greater Word.
on, you've got more for Greater Works. Thank you all so very much. And Dr. Risher, I just want to thank you so much for reminding us so very much that it is not about forgive and forget, but forgive and remember. And to take that with you and apply it to what we're all committed to here today, what we'll be committed to through the weekend, Monday, and beyond. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here, for allowing me to participate. I wanted to also remind any of you, especially who are participating in the Q&A with Dr. Risher, you can grab a sandwich on your way out, too. These students aren't done feeding you yet. Hopefully, you've gotten nourishment in a couple of ways also, again, for your minds and hearts. And I thank you for being here and for being committed to your community. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.